Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Rise Fitness and Nutrition Podcast. I am your favorite host, Carlo. Today we are going to talk about the relationship between working out and your immune system. What happens when you push yourself to the limit? Is it good? Is it bad for you? What's going on inside of you? If you're curious, stay tuned. Let's start right off the bat by saying that COVID-19 has no place in this discussion and that you should be extra careful on your side by following the local regulation on top of taking care of your training and nutrition to protect yourself from the virus. That said, could an active lifestyle help improving your immune function? The answer is mostly probably yes. The immune system is very responsive to exercise, with the extent and duration reflecting the degree of physiological stress imposed by the workload. By having this in mind, then you might think that if you train really hard, then your immune system might get greater benefits. But there actually is a catch. In a research review, and you will find the link in the podcast description, heavy exertion was associated with transient immune dysfunction, elevated inflammatory biomarkers, and an increased risk of upper respiratory tract infection, also known with the friendly name of URTIs. For example, acute bouts of intense and prolonged exercise were linked by several early exercise immunology pioneer investigators to suppress salivary immunoglobulin output, also known as IgA, decreased natural killer cell activity, and reduced T and B cell function. Carlo, I know nothing about the immune system. What are those things? How is my immune system structured? Don't I just need my vitamin C? Well, you do have a point. That is absolutely reasonable. So let's make one step back. It's alright not to be familiar with the immune system, so let me simplify things a bit for you here. First thing first, your immune system is a network of cells, tissues, and organs that work together to protect the body against invading pathogens. There are two types of immunities inside of you. The first one is the innate immunity, aka the first responders to the attack of intruding pathogens, that uses a combination of different types of white blood cells, phagocytes, and a set of chemical messengers to launch an unspecific attack. The second one is the adaptive immunity, that is much more complex, and it relies on antigens to be recognized before the immune system creates immune cells specifically designed to attack them. But this might be a little bit confusing, so let me use an example to make this easier to grasp. Imagine your body as a really rich bank filled with gold and precious items, and one day, suddenly, bank robbers, or pathogens, break in and take some hostages to clean up the vault. The innate immunity can be identified as the local police department coming right away to surround the bank, trying to figure out what's the best way to stop the robbery. Their reaction is immediate, but is not specific to these types of robbers, so it's effective surely, as it slows down their operation, but it might not be the definitive solution to stop the robbery. After some time, the adaptive response kicks in, and in this hypothetical scenario, it is the SWAT team that joins the party. They are experts that can very well deal with this specific situation, and they start the operation to then ultimately stop the robbery and save the bank and its vault. Does it sound clear now? Now earlier I mentioned a few markers and players that we are going to use during today's podcast, so let me briefly clarify them here. Salivary immunoglobulin A, or IgA. This is the first line of defense of your body from environmental factors, and it is the main class of antibodies present in the body's secretory fluids such as saliva, mucus, and tears. It's your first shield. Natural killer cells. They work with the innate immune response to rapidly detect, attack, and remove infected cells. T and B cells. The T cell responds to viral infection and boosts immune function of other cells, while the B cells fight bacterial infections. Now that we have explained a little bit more these key concepts, let's get back to today's topic. Is working out good or bad for your immune system? As I mentioned before, if you overexert yourself, your immune defense's efficacy will decrease, leaving you at an increased risk of upper respiratory tract infection, the good old ERTIs. But overexertion comes in different forms. You can have extremely intense training sessions that involve powerful bouts of high-intensity interval training that leave you splatted on the floor, pale, and out of breath. But you can also go with heavy but shorter training sessions and inadequate rest that ultimately won't allow you enough recovery that will, eventually, leave you exhausted throughout the week. So in this situation, the key concept is to understand a little bit more where are your limits. Simply just take it a little easier. Unless you are a professional athlete, chances are you do not need to leave every single training completely in pieces. And even if you are a pro, you still need to take care of your body or your performance will suffer. Take me as example. When I was training in Kyokushin Karate around 4 to 6 times a week for at least 2 hours every night between the regular class, the post-class sparring, and the weight circuit training, more than often I'd leave the dojo, where we practice karate, completely drained, to the point that I would often wake up the next day with sore throat and mild cold symptoms. And those will drag for a few days, making my trainings a drag. So how did I solve this? Well, taking a breather and slowing down on the intensity. I realized that if I took it easier, I could first of all perform better per session, but also sleep better, recover quicker, and avoid being sick. Allow me to say that in a situation like we are in these months, you certainly want to avoid being exposed to cold symptoms. You never know. Another important factor to keep into consideration when you talk about working out, training in general, and your immunity is the role of oxidative stress in your body. First of all, what is oxidative stress? It is the regular byproduct of the energy production of our cells' engines, the mitochondria. Let me make it simpler. Imagine this. Every cell inside your body has an engine. And as every engine does when it produces energy, it also produces some sort of waste byproduct, in this case, in the form of reactive oxygen species, or ROS, aka oxidative stress. And this type of ROS will affect our cells' engine's efficiency over time. Now multiply this for hundreds of thousands times every minute, hour, day, in every cell, and well, you have a lot of ROS running around your body. But no need to panic, as your body has its own natural antioxidant protection against oxidative stress. And this is made by superoxide dismutase, or SOD, and glutathione that work tirelessly 24/7 to clean up the oxidative stress that the mitochondria produces to help them function longer and better. Facts on mitochondria. The mitochondria is this microscopic cell powerhouse that weighs 40% of your heart muscle and make 10% of your body weight. I am 70 something kilos, and it really amazes me to think that around 7 kilos of that is just composed by my cell's engine. Now, 10% of your body weight makes energy for you to go through your daily activities, workouts, and what's not. Isn't it crazy? This said, when you work out, your body needs to produce more energy, and your mitochondria, as a consequence, need to work harder to provide your muscles the power to have you finish the one more set of your training or your final sprint. More energy equals then more oxidative stress. And when you really go all in, squeezing the energy out of your muscles, your own oxidative stress balance is overthrown, leaving you drained, sore, and weaker. Sounds familiar? In this type of situation, your immune defenses are also affected, and definitely extra caution in recovery is mandatory. But this is naturally the extreme. The benefits of moderate, intense exercise are, on the other hand, great. During such type of training, there is an overall anti-inflammatory influence mediated through multiple pathways, including improved control of inflammatory signaling pathways, as well as enhanced innate immune function. You remember the first responders to the bank robbery? And this happens due to the circulation surge in cells of the innate immune system with each exercise bout. In general, exercise promotes the recirculation of key immune cells and mediates an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant state through multiple mechanisms. Although many information gaps exist, these exercise-induced effects might help to counter the development of chronic metabolic diseases and are likely multiplied when body fat mass is reduced. Wow, these are so many things, man. What are the key takeaways here? Can you help me out? I'm very much lost. That's true, I understand. So, among all of those information, what are the key takeaways to have in mind when we talk about training and immunity? First, 1 hour of moderate to vigorous intensity exercise is now viewed as an important immune system support. Second, high exercise training workloads such as the ones before and during competitions are linked with temporary immune perturbation, inflammation, oxidative stress, muscle damage, and increased illness risk. Third, a balance of high and moderate intensity exercise, along with the right nutrition and adequate recovery, is actually a good plan to mitigate increased risks of becoming sick and missing out on a training schedule and have performance reduction. Fourth, regular exercise training has an overall anti-inflammatory influence mediated through multiple pathways, aka training is good for you. And this kind of links back to another episode of my podcast when I talk about nutrition, training, and recovery as the pillars of your overall health. If you don't know where to start, feel free to get in touch with me and let's talk about it. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. I would like to say that there's so much to talk about when approaching the topic of immunity, specifically these days. What I wanted to do today was to give you a simplified overview of your immune system and the relationship with it and the workouts. Now, if you like this podcast and if you're listening on Apple Podcast, a 5-star review will be highly appreciated. Thank you again for listening and have a great rest of the week.